Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we pulled together a stack of sources on a crime that, honestly, it reads like something straight out of Hollywood.
It really does. It's this perfect mix of a high-tech thriller and, well, almost a comedy of errors at the very end.
Exactly. We're jumping into a world of impossible locks, incredible criminal genius, and what might be the single greatest cautionary tale about, of all things, littering.
We are focusing on the Antwerp diamond heist. It happened over the weekend of February 15th to 16th, 2003. And it's not an exaggeration to say it earned its nickname, the heist of the century.
Right. And just to set the stakes, the scale here is what takes this from just a robbery into the stuff of legend. The thieves got away with loose diamonds, gold, jewelry, cash.
You name it. The estimated value was over $100 million.
$100 million. And what's wild is that despite arrests, most of those diamonds have never, ever been seen again.
Exactly. And our sources were drawing from investigative reports, nonfiction accounts, interviews. They all point to the same thing. So our mission for this deep dive is really twofold. First, we need to unpack how this team managed to get inside one of the most secure vaults on the planet.
In the Antwerp Diamond Center, no less.
Right in the heart of the Diamond District. And second, and maybe this is the more fascinating part, we have to look at the ridiculously simple, almost amateur mistake that brought the whole thing crashing down.
And you mentioned the location, the Antwerp Diamond District. This isn't some remote warehouse. This is one of the most heavily guarded and monitored square miles on Earth.
It is. So the question isn't just how they broke in on the night, but how they managed to operate, to plan right under everyone's noses for years without anyone noticing.
Years. Okay, so to really appreciate what they pulled off, I think we have to start with what they were up against. Let's talk about the fortress they had to crack.
Precisely. You can't understand the genius of the plan without first understanding the complexity of the target. This vault was designed to be impossible.
So tell me about this place, the Antwerp Diamond Center at 911 Schipstraat. What made it a fortress?
Well, for starters, its location. The vault wasn't on the ground floor where you could, maybe try a brute force attack. It was 2 floors underground.
Okay, so no drilling from the side or blowing a wall out.
Absolutely not. The noise, the vibration.
Yeah.
You're in a dense urban center. It would be suicidal. So you have to go through the front door. And that door was a masterpiece of security engineering.
The sources list an almost unbelievable number of defenses.
Let's start with the first thing you see, the lock. A big mechanical combination lock on a multi-ton steel door. And this wasn't just any combination. It had 100 million possible combinations.
100 million. I mean, that alone stops 99.9% of criminals right there. You can't guess that.
You could spend a lifetime turning that dial and never get it. But that was just the beginning. The room itself was a trap.
A trap how?
It was layered with invisible sensors. They had infrared heat detectors looking for the thermal signature of a human body.
Right.
They had a seismic sensor embedded in the floor and walls, listening for the tiniest vibration, a drill, a hammer, anything.
So no power tools.
No power tools. And on top of that, Doppler radar scanning the empty space for any movement at all.
Heat, vibration, and movement. That's 3 layers. But the one that sounds like it's from a sci-fi movie is the magnetic field.
Ah, yes, that was the real killer. The door frame was equipped with magnetic plates. When the vault was locked, it generated a continuous, unbroken magnetic field. If that field was disrupted, even for a split second,
The alarm goes off.
instantly, and it's a silent alarm, straight to the police. This was designed to stop someone from even trying to pry the door or drill the lock because any physical contact would disturb that field.
So just to recap, you have a 100 million combination lock, plus sensors for heat, for seismic activity, for movement, and a magnetic field.
And that's just the vault. The building had its own 24/7 private security force. And the whole district, as you said, is blanketed with cameras and patrols. It was truly meant to be impregnable.
Which means the mastermind, this Leonardo Notarbartolo,
Yeah.
knew he couldn't attack it head on. He had to find a different way in.
He had to become part of the system. This is where the social engineering comes in and the patience. This wasn't a smash and grab. It was a 2-year intelligence operation.
2 years, that's just, the dedication is staggering.
Yeah.
So how did he get his foot in the door?
He did the simplest thing possible. He rented an office in the Diamond Center building itself.
No way.
Yes. He posed as an Italian diamond merchant, paid his rent on time, showed up during business hours, became a familiar face. To the guards, he was just another tenant.
The ultimate camouflage is just hiding in plain sight.
And then he took the crucial next step. He rented a safe deposit box inside the vault,
The very vault he was planning to rob.
which gave him legitimate, regular access to the secure area. Every visit was a reconnaissance mission. He could observe the guards, their routines, their shift changes.
And most importantly, he could watch them open that door with its 100 million combinations.
Exactly. The 2 years weren't just about waiting. It was about data collection. He was mapping the entire security system from the inside out.
So let's get into the art of the bypass. Defeating 100 million combinations seems like the first impossible hurdle. How'd they do it?
Well, according to Notar Bartolo's own account, it was surprisingly low-tech in concept. They didn't try to crack it, they just stole it.
Oh.
They allegedly planted a tiny camera, a pinhole camera, in the ceiling directly above the vault door.
In the ceiling of one of the most secure buildings in Europe.
Right. Its entire purpose was just to film the guards' hands as they dialed in the combination day after day.
That is audacious. But where did the footage go? They couldn't just leave a recorder there.
It was transmitted wirelessly to a receiver hidden inside, a fire extinguisher.
A fire extinguisher.
Yep, just a normal fire extinguisher sitting in a storage closet down the hall. No one would ever think to look inside it. It's genius because it's so mundane.
So they have the combination. But now they're inside the antechamber, facing that web of sensors. How do you beat a thermal detector?
This is where it gets even more creative. Notar Bartolo claimed that on one of his visits before the heist, he used a can of hairspray.
Hairspray. Seriously, how on earth does that work?
The theory is that a light mist of an aerosol, like hairspray, would create a thin, sticky film over the sensor's lens. It wouldn't break it, but it could blind it or insulate it just long enough for them to get inside and set up a more permanent bypass.
That is an incredibly high-risk, split-second move.
A huge risk. But for the actual heist, they had a more robust solution for the heat sensors. They brought in a large shield.
Made of what? Some advanced material?
Polystyrene.
You mean styrofoam?
Literally styrofoam. It's a fantastic thermal insulator. The thief could move around behind this big sheet of styrofoam and his body heat would be completely invisible to the sensor. It's using high school physics to beat a multi-million-dollar security system.
It's the perfect example of an asymmetric attack. The security designers are thinking about hackers and lasers, and these guys show up with packaging material.
And they didn't miss the small stuff either. They put a piece of black tape over the light sensor in the ceiling.
Why?
So they could turn the lights on inside the vault to work. Without the tape, turning on the lights might have triggered an alarm, registering a change in the ambient light levels of the secure area. Total control of their environment.
This is just... The level of detail is mind-boggling. But okay, that brings us to the final boss. The magnetic lock. How do you open a door without breaking that field?
This was their masterpiece. It required prep work days or even weeks in advance.
So they tampered with it before the heist?
Yes. During business hours when the vault was open and the field was turned off, one of them, likely their mechanical expert, the monster, went to work on the door itself. He carefully unscrewed the bolts, holding the magnetic plates, but only partially.
How did he keep them from just falling out?
He used a strong adhesive tape to hold the plates in place. The point was to create a tiny, almost invisible gap behind them.
A gap for what?
During the heist, they slid a custom-made aluminum plate into that gap.
Aluminum, which is not magnetic.
Exactly. This plate acted as a bridge. It physically held the two magnetic plates together, maintaining the circuit, while the main vault door was being pulled open. The system thought the door was still closed. The alarm never went off.
That is true genius. They used the system's own logic against it, so the door is open. But they still needed the physical key, right? The sources call it a two-part, three-dimensional key. What does that even mean?
It means it was incredibly complex. A normal key is two-dimensional. A 3D key has cuts and divots and pins on multiple surfaces, not just the edge. It's almost impossible to pick or duplicate without the original specs.
And this is where their specialist comes in.
This is the king of keys, an old-school master forger. He had to create a perfect replica of this incredibly complex key, likely from photographs or impressions taken by Notar Bartolo. The two-part detail suggests it might have even required two separate pieces to be inserted in sequence.
So combination key, magnetic field bypassed. They're in. The main door is open.
Almost. There was still an internal day gate, like a heavy-duty metal grill. But with the main sensors bypassed, they just took a crowbar to it and pried it open.
And inside, they're faced with what? Nearly 200 safe deposit boxes.
189. And they couldn't open them all. They systematically broke into 109 of them.
And each one of those had its own lock.
2 locks, actually. A unique key lock and a 3-letter combination lock on every single box.
That's an insane amount of work to do in one weekend, in silence. How'd they manage it?
They brought their own custom tool. The sources describe a special hand-cranked device, sort of a custom-built drill press, designed to apply slow, silent, and overwhelming force to break the locks without making a sound. It was an industrial operation in a bank vault.
They didn't just break in, they set up a workshop.
Pretty much. The level of preparation, it's just breathtaking.
Okay, so let's talk about the team that pulled this off. The sources call them the School of Turin. What does that mean?
La Scuola di Torino. It's not a formal organization, more like a loose network of high-end Italian thieves, specialists in non-violent technical heists. They shared a certain methodology.
And we know who was on this particular crew.
The police identified 4 main members, besides Notarbartolo, and Notarbartolo himself gave them aliases in interviews, which really helps paint a picture of their roles.
Let's break down the team. First up, the guy he called Speedy.
Speedy. Notarbartolo described him as anxious, paranoid. Police believe this was a man named Pietro Tavano. Ironically, his main job was to get rid of the evidence after the heist.
A job he was not very good at, as we'll see.
Not at all. Then you have the monster.
Sounds intimidating.
He was their muscle, but also their mechanic. Tall, strong, but also an expert lockpicker, an electrician. Police think this was Ferdinando Finotto. He was the guy who could handle the heavy machinery and the delicate work, like tampering with that magnetic lock.
A versatile skill set.
Yeah.
And the guy who beat all the electronics.
That would be the genius. He was their alarm specialist, identified by police as Elio Donorio. He would have designed the camera system, figured out the hairspray trick, the polystyrene shield. He was the brains behind defeating the technology.
And that leaves the most mysterious member.
The King of Keys. The only one who has never been identified. Notarbartolo described him as an older man, one of the best key forgers in the world. He created that impossible 3D key. Without him, none of it happens. He was a ghost.
So you have this perfect team, a 5-man crew of specialists. They execute a flawless, silent $100 million heist. And then what happens? How does it all unravel?
This is where the story pivots from a slick thriller to, well, something else entirely. After the heist, they go back to Notarbartolo's apartment in Antwerp to sort the loot and get rid of all the evidence. Tools, blueprints, clothes, food wrappers, everything.
And what do they do with all this incriminating trash?
Notarbartolo and Speedy get in a car and drive down the E19 motorway toward Brussels. And instead of burning it or burying it or sinking it in a river, they just dump the bags on the side of the road, in a bush.
You cannot be serious. After 2 years of meticulous planning, their disposal plan was to litter.
It's almost unbelievable, isn't it? The very next morning, a local landowner, a guy named August Van Camp, is out walking his property, sees the trash, and calls the police.
And inside those bags,
Everything. Tapes from the heist, empty diamond pouches, invoices linking back to Notarbartolo's fake company, a direct trail right to them.
but the piece de resistance, the one detail everyone remembers.
A partially eaten salami sandwich.
This sandwich.
The police found a half-eaten sandwich in the trash, and they were able to pull a perfect DNA sample from it. It matched Leonardo Notarbartolo. The man who defeated a magnetic field was brought down by his lunch.
It's the ultimate human element. You have a master key forger on one hand and a guy who can't be bothered to finish his sandwich and throw it away properly on the other.
It completely broke the case open. A few days later, Notarbartolo, thinking he's totally in the clear, actually goes back to the Diamond Center.
Why would he do that?
To keep up appearances, pay his rent, close out his office. He was trying to just fade back into his cover story. The police were waiting for him. They arrested him on the spot.
And the sentences came down pretty quickly after that.
In 2005, Notarbartolo got 10 years as the mastermind. The other three, Tavano, Donorio, and Finotto, each got 5 years.
So Notarbartolo goes to prison, but he doesn't actually serve the full 10 years initially, right?
No, he was released on parole in 2009 after serving only about 4 years. But, parole for a crime like this comes with some very strict strings attached.
And the main one was restitution, I assume.
The main one was he had to start paying back the victims. And when you're talking about $100 million, that's a condition he apparently had no intention of meeting.
So he just didn't pay.
You didn't pay. So in 2011, a European arrest warrant was issued. He had violated his parole. He was officially a fugitive again.
And they caught up with him eventually.
2 years later, in 2013, he was flying from the U.S. back to Italy, and had a layover at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. They nabbed him there. He was sent back to Belgium to finish the rest of his sentence and was finally released for good in 2017.
Now, during all this time, he started telling a very different story about the heist. This is where the whole inside job controversy comes from, right?
Right. He gave a huge interview to Wired magazine and basically tried to reframe the entire narrative. He claimed his team was actually hired by a diamond merchant to rob the vault.
Hired. For what purpose?
Insurance fraud.
Mm-hmm.
His story was that it was all a setup. He claimed they only actually stole about $20 million worth of goods.
So he's saying the other $80 million was either never there or the merchants claimed it was stolen to get a massive insurance payout.
Exactly. It's a clever story because it makes him look less like a master thief and more like a contractor, a pawn in a much bigger game played by supposedly legitimate businessmen. It spreads the blame around.
That's a good story. But does it hold up?
Not really. There's one massive hole in his theory, and it comes back to the vault itself.
What's the problem?
The vault was uninsured.
Wait, what? A vault holding hundreds of millions of dollars in the diamond capital of the world had no insurance?
It sounds insane, but our sources confirm it. The insurance companies had assessed the vault's security and apparently found it so flawed that they refused to issue a policy for it.
So if there was no insurance policy on the vault, there could be no massive insurance fraud payout.
And Nora Bartolo's entire story falls apart. The consensus among experts is that his claim was just misdirection, a way to muddy the waters and maybe hide the fact that they really did get away with $100 million, and most of it is still out there somewhere.
So we're left with this incredible story that has it all. The genius planning, the high-tech security, the absurd mistake. It's no wonder it has such a lasting legacy.
Oh, absolutely. It's the perfect crime story. It was documented almost immediately in the nonfiction book Flawless, which really laid the groundwork for everything that came after.
And it just keeps getting retold. I mean, it's been the subject of so many documentaries and TV shows.
So many. Michael Caine covered it on his Heist audio series. Pierce Brosnan narrated a segment on history's greatest heists. Netflix has a doc on it. The story is just too good.
And it's that contrast, right? The high-tech bypasses versus the low-tech solutions, the hairspray and the styrofoam.
That's what captures the imagination. It shows that the most complex systems can have the simplest weaknesses. And of course, it's perfect for scripted drama, too.
Like that new Amazon series, Everybody Loves Diamonds.
Which is based directly on Nodar Bartolo and his crew. And Hollywood's been trying to make a movie about it for years. J.J. Abrams had the rights at one point.
And even if that specific movie didn't happen, the heist itself is still influencing fiction. The new Den of Thieves sequel is apparently based on the Antwerp job.
It's become the benchmark. It's the standard against which all other modern heists are measured. A perfect plan undone by a moment of pure human carelessness.
So to bring this all together, we start with a fortress, 2 floors underground, protected by 100 million combinations, heat sensors, seismic detectors, a magnetic field.
And that fortress was defeated by 2 years of patient observation, a camera and a fire extinguisher, a styrofoam shield, and a custom-made aluminum plate. It was a masterpiece of criminal engineering.
Carried out by the School of Turin, this all-star team of specialists. The monster, the genius, the king of keys, they told off the impossible.
And yet this entire $100 million enterprise came undone because a local guy found a bag of trash on the side of the road. Trash that had DNA from a half-eaten salami sandwich in it.
It's the ultimate paradox. The world's most sophisticated thieves were, in the end, just vulnerable to being hungry and lazy.
Which leaves a final thought for you, our listener. Given the years of planning, the incredible technical skill, the sheer brilliance it took to bypass that vault, what does it tell you that the whole thing fell apart because of the most mundane human act imaginable? It suggests that no matter how perfect the plan, the weakest link is always, always the human element, the unpredictable, messy, and sometimes just plain stupid things people do. And remember, $100 million in diamonds are still out there somewhere.